What if you could grow an entire fall and winter garden in one container? That's exactly what we're doing today in this special rectangular planter. I'm also planting a special type of onions that I rarely hear other gardeners talk about. Let's get to it. I have seed garlic ready to go. It's an heirloom soft knit garlic called Enchilium Red. I also purchased a variety pack of mystery garlic when MR Gardner had a sale a few weeks ago. When you plant garlic, each individual clove becomes a new full bulb. And I have a lot of garlic to plant, so I space my planting out over 2 or 3 days. I'm just separating my bulb into individual cloves. If you'll note, one end of the clove is pointy and one end is flat. That's going to be important once we start planting. And we've got some bone meal that's going to go in each hole before we plant the garlic. This bone meal is high in phosphorus, which is excellent for the root development of certain crops. Time to plant. To ensure my garlic is spaced just right, I'm using a simple trick, a paint stirrer that has marks at 3 and 4 inch intervals. Yes, a humble paint stick from the hardware store doubles as the perfect measuring tool. You can space garlic out as much as 6 inches. I have a lot of garlic to plant, so I'm maximizing space. When I did this last year, I used a much smaller container and the bulbs grew nice and full. And again, we're going to plant our garlic with this pointy side facing up. Our leaves will come from that point, and the flat bottom is where the roots will come. And that's why we want the bone meal to make contact with that bottom so the roots will form well. Now I'll just finish planting this garlic so we can move on to number 2. Next up, onions from seed. Back in the spring, I planted some onion starts for the first time. I was really excited about them and I covered them as I normally do with insect netting. Somehow, I still develop onion moths. After that experience, I reached out to some onion growers and I got a great tip. Try planting onions from seed in the fall or winter instead of waiting until spring. The mindset is that the cooler weather means that the moths are going to be dormant and they normally won't be active until the springtime. So I'm trying this as an experiment to see if this will go better than our spring onion planting went. I'm starting with the early Texas grano, a southern classic sweet onion variety. It's known as a short day, or sometimes some people may think of it as an intermediate day onion, which means that they're suited for fall and winter planting in the mild winter climates that I'm in. I'm in zone 8, and sometimes we're on that cusp of zone 7. It seems like the calendar moves around, but I tend toward the 8. And in my climate, these onions should overwinter and they'll start bulbing up when the day length increases. So that should be around March of next year. By planting now, I'm basically treating them like a fall sown overwintering crop. I'm hoping that with any luck, they'll be on their way to forming nice bulbs by the time the onion moths show up, which is usually in late spring. Maybe the moths will miss the window completely, or the onions will be strong enough to withstand the moths when they do show up. It's an experiment, so we'll see. Again, I'm using my trusty paint stirrer to mark off the distance here, spacing them out about 3 inches here. So I'm just going to continue to use that marked off stirrer to pop the seeds in here. The other onion I'm planting from seed is the Utah yellow sweet Spanish onion. It's an intermediate variety. And again, I'm in an area that can either do short day or intermediate. So this is an experiment on both the onion moths and on the performance of the day length. This is actually the perfect time to mention Grow Plan Lives School Community. It's free, and in the community, you can ask your garden questions and help support other gardeners in their journey as we learn and grow together. Again, it's free, and the link is in the description. Number 3, Golden Globe Beets. These are just like your regular red beets, except they're a beautiful golden orange color inside. And I chose them because sometimes I want the advantage of beets. You know, beets are good for blood pressure and things of that nature. So sometimes I want the advantage of the beets, but I don't want the red stains that you get from working with beets. And so I was able to do that by trying these out. And here's just a look at the seeds. It's always interesting to see how plants start as seeds. And since beets are another root vegetable, we're using our bone meal again in our planting hole prior to putting our seed in the hole. I'm giving these beets about 3 inches and applying that bone meal to the planting area before I drop the seeds in. Number 4, Oxheart carrots. Here's a picture of last year's crop. Last year was the first time I tried this variety, and as you see, they turned out adorably. They really are shaped like little hearts, and I actually planted them in the fall last year, and then I just kind of left them alone. And then one day in the spring, around late March, probably they just started just exploding, and they did fantastic. The only thing is you just have to make sure your soil is deep enough so the hearts, the tops of the Oxheart carrots don't turn green. They're an old heirloom variety, and I'm super excited about them. I think sometimes people call them Oxheart of Perry carrots. So it's kind of a little fun fact here. Yeah, like I said, I love these. Tried them for the first time last year. Thought they turned out really, really well. And I was going to say that these tolerate heavy or clay soil better than some of the longer carrot varieties. So that's a bonus if you're gardening on soil that's not, the best quality soil. So that's another plus. I'm going to try to space these out again. A lot of people just sow several carrot seeds together and thin them out later, but I'm all about trying to prevent having to come back and redo things if at all possible. So I'm actually going to space these out. Last year I spaced them out and they did just fine. So I'm going to try to space them out up front again with our paint stirrer. We're using bone meal again because this is another root vegetable, and here we go. And I rarely hear other gardeners talk about number 5, and it's the potato onion. Okay, so you're saying, DK, what's the difference in a potato onion and a regular onion? Well, first of all, these are made to be planted in fall, especially in a zone 7 or a zone 8 like mine, and so that's unusual. Normally, they'll tell you to plant onions in the spring, except for my little onion moth fiasco. Also, these multiply. So once you plant them in the ground, they're going to multiply very similar to where our garlic cloves will turn into bulbs. These are going to do something similar. And this is my first time trying them. I'm really excited about trying these for the first time. So, yeah, I don't hear a lot of people talking about them, but yeah, I'm doing potato onions as part of my fall and winter garden. These need a little bit more space, so I'm pulling out the big guns this time, the old handy measuring tape. So we're going to just start measuring these out to space. With these, I would give them a little bit more space. I would move more toward the like 6 inch mark for these, maybe even 8 inches, so you allow those bulbs to multiply and get really big. Again, placing bone meal in these different slots before we drop these onion starts in. Of course, like I said, these are going to be starts as opposed to the seeds we did earlier. And like I said, we'll see how these do. The nature of these, I believe that they will come from starts pretty much no matter, how you find them. I don't know if you can even buy the seed per se on these. The nature of them is that they multiply, just like our garlic. We get our garlic from cloves. So it's kind of like you get an, I guess if you could say an onion clove, I guess a potato onion would be like an onion clove, if there's a comparison to be made. Okay, and I'm going to drop these potato onion starts in, and on the top there's a little pointy part. You can see me kind of moving the trowel around, and you want to let that little pointy part stick out just barely, just like with the garlic. You just want to barely see that part sticking out. Here I go dropping another one in into that bone meal, and just kind of moving the soil just loosely around it so it's just barely peeking out. And I'll do that until all my starts are planted. Our potato onions are labeled with our paint stirrer. Okay, that's it, guys. We're finished. We've got our 5 crops in for our fall and winter garden, and now we're just watering everything in. We want to cover this with a nice layer of water, just kind of soak it one good time, because this is the time of year where you won't water a lot, because it ultimately will get too cold to water. So I like to just occasionally, if you find that you have like a 65 plus 70-degree plus day, November, December, because we do have some of those, I would just pop out and just water. And also for your onions and garlic, you might find it advantageous to use a little Alaska fish food diluted in some a water jug or watering can, and that may help you get a jump start. Most of your activity you're going to see coming like in March of next year will be most of the activity. We're just getting a head start in that garden for now. Don't forget to join me at my free school, Grow, Plan, Live. And in the meantime, YouTube has a recommended video for you. I think you'll love it. Bye for now.